Long ago, in a galaxy far, far away, two sickos of MLS Next Pro came up with an idea to have a podcast surrounding Rapids 2, and thus R2P2 was created. I'm Keith Richards. We have Matt Wick here, and welcome to the first episode of R2P2.
I'm totally going to see if there's a way we can put the Star Wars theme under and not just get completely sued.
Oh, that's going to be copyrighted in 0.5 seconds.
To the listeners, I did not know Keith had that intro in his bag and was going to pull that one out. So I hope you are just as delighted as I was hearing that.
Yeah, I thought about it, and then I'm just going to do it. You know what? Why not? But hey, when you're branded a sicko for doing an MLS Next Pro podcast, why not?
I don't know if it's as much like a sicko as like a connoisseur. Like I view it as like when you see like an up and coming band or your favorite band at a small club, and then like they play Red Rocks the next season because they blew up, and everyone's like, "Oh, have you heard of them?" And you're like, "Yeah, I've been on that."
Yeah, like they played a Moxie and Greeley, and then they play Red Rocks.
Yeah, that's what Alex Harris did this year. He played DU, and then look at him. He's headlining Dick's Sporting Goods Park, and that's a place Fish headlines, so it must be a big deal.
Yeah, they're back at Dick's, aren't they, for their annual? I'm not sure how that started. I think that's more from that Pollard question, but I think it's the strangest thing that they usually play Dick's Sporting Goods Park of all the places they could play in Colorado.
Well, I think they said that the Wooks or like all the fish heads, what I don't know what their fans are called, didn't like how surveilled or how policed the environment around Folsom Field was. And it's a lot more laissez-faire at Dick's Sporting Goods Park and all of the prairie dog lots for them to really be festive. We need like the fish equivalent for like R2, like Fish 2, or like I don't know, that was like for me that was like Dispatch and OAR growing up.
We can dust off one of those old Denver bands like the Freight or something like that.
I think like 50% of us in the press box play a musical instrument, so we can just be Fish 2. I mean, I'm looking in your background right now, Keith.
Let me tell you, that guitar is there because I played guitar like when I got to BYU, I took guitar my second semester. And I played a little bit after that. I haven't played guitar in probably 20 years. But I refuse to get rid of it because I keep telling myself I'm going to pick it back up.
All
But
right.
just collect the dust over there.
Fish 2. Because they spell it with a P, it can also be P2. So Rapids 2, Fish 2. That's actually what the podcast is.
We'll talk to Amelia about getting us something.
Oh man. All right, Keith. Let's talk some stuff.
Yeah, let's so we're 2 games into the season now. Has not gone as well as last season has. But that's understandable. I mean, they still have Eric Boucher. They lined him up before the season started on a long-term contract, so he'll be here for the foreseeable future, of course. But the difference is bringing in Matt Wells. So they want to play the same style as Matt Wells and try to keep if you listen to the interview that's going to drop with Ryan Kirkham, he says they're trying to keep first team, second team, and academy in sync. So the play style is going to be very similar, almost the same as much as they can make it. And as we see with Matt Wells, that is a very sophisticated, complicated, difficult playing style. So when you see the first team struggle with it and accomplished goalkeepers like Zach Steffen when he struggled in Seattle, can't imagine that's easy on the younger players.
Yeah, I do want to point out because you talked about the first results of the season. That R2 lost both of the first games of last season too, and I mean, while they didn't win the whole shebang, they got to the dance. So I'm not going to be too down on it right now.
Yeah, I mean, and if you look at the stats in the 2 games, they're essentially being beat on the counter attack is what it ends up being right now. They're having real difficulty playing out of the back, which again I think has to be expected. It's a hard thing to do for seasoned veterans, let alone 19, 20, 25-year-old kids. The game against Houston was more like the game against Seattle for the first team to where well, I'll take that back. The first team struggled to possess against Seattle very much. However, R2, they had 66% possession in that match. Problem is they didn't have as many total shots. They didn't have as many total shots on target. And that's where Houston really hurt them, I think.
Yeah, I think that Houston match, you did point out the possession. We saw a lot of that trying to build out of the back to varying points of success, and I think we saw when it went up the wide channels, up the wings, we were getting into the final third, but we weren't really clicking yet on the finishing or who was going to make that pass to the person that was going to finish, which I don't think we saw from the first team until the second match of their season. So there are similar trend lines to the philosophy that is being spread throughout the organization. We talked about in the interview with Brian Crickham that Eric Boucher did spend the first 3 weeks of training camp with Matt Wells as basically his de facto assistant, while Matt Wells' first team coaches were getting their P1 visas. So there is a lot of congruity right now between the first and second team philosophies, and I think it's a really cool aspect to be able to see that happening. And for a team that's retooling from a season last year, that's bringing a lot of the same parts back, but also bringing in new blood. I think we've already seen Kai Thomas, Nathan Chumba start. It's really promising to watch them learn, and I think like we're starting to see with the first team, and like we saw with the R2 season last year, like a couple knocks at the beginning of the season are not emblematic of a trajectory that could very well end up back at the MLS Next Pro Championship.
Yeah, I mean, and even though they lost against North Texas in the next game, I think we did see some improvement. They still led in possession, 1% better actually against North Texas than they were against Houston, but they had more total shots. They had more shots on target. They created more big chances. Um, that free kick from Chris Aquino, oh my goodness, absolute banger. Which kind of wonder where that was going to come from this season because Sam Batson took a lot of those free kicks for Rapids 2 last year, and looks like they're not going to miss a step with Chris, which I think is good. But I think you did see the playing out of the back still needs some work, but I think it looked better. Really impressed specifically with Jabari Bakito, or was it the
Take a toe.
Dekato? There's some weird names all over the yeah. I think Dekato like, I thought he looked good in the first match. I thought he looked even better in the second match. What they have to do now is be able to get it to the forwards because they have some serious talent at forward. On Rapids 2 itself, 'cause I'm assuming Donovan Phillips, even though he's on the first team contract, he's gonna be there probably for most of the season. There's too much depth at winger and forward on the first team, and he has to get playing time. I thought Bryce Jamison looked really good up there. You have Kamani back. He's going to be playing some time there. I'm assuming Bilo's going to be playing some time there. That's an attack that's going to be the envy of the league if they can consistently get the ball forward.
Yeah, I 100% agree. And as we transition from that Houston to North Texas game, a couple things I do want to point out is that the R2 held the line until the 60th minute, and then once more until the 88th minute. The 2-0 scoreline on its face looks drastic, but I do think it's a tale of two halves, and largely a tale of kind of the final third of a game. Moving into the next game against North Texas, I think it's notable that this, not to throw any shade to Kendall Starks, because I love Kendall. We were talking with Brian. I was watching him in training doing passing out of the back under our pressure drills last week, and I thought he was doing a great job with that. But this was a surprise call up of Zach Campagnolo, the starting goalkeeper for R2, to fill in for a surprise injury to Zach Steffen. So the team was without the goalkeeper that had trained all week because Zach Steffen's injury didn't occur until Thursday. Kendall gets drawn to the start at the last minute. Even Bilo Giop wasn't at this game because he was in limbo because they didn't know if he was going to be called up as a first team substitute player or not. So the team was without its starting striker and starting goalkeeper from last season, going into a match against a team that they, like, we heard from a lot of players, really didn't like last year in North Texas. Like, there's bad blood there, y'all.
And that field sucks. I hate you I think playing on a baseball field is pretty bad. I think it's even worse where you're playing and they just leave the lines and numbers out on the football field. Like, come on. I know it's not like a multi-million-dollar enterprise, but I know they could take care of that if they really wanted to.
I mean, just from like a recreational soccer standpoint, I play pickup soccer sometimes on the high school fields around here, so like North High School, Wheat Ridge High School, and it really messes with your head, like, when, especially as a defender, when you're backpedaling and you see a white line approaching your heels, and you're like, "Oh, I must be by the goal." You're like, "Nope."
Yeah, 'cause it's a thin yellow line and there's like it's a yellow line, that's good. You wanna be able to see it, but it's not very pronounced. Like I feel like they can make it a little bit thicker, it would've made it better, but and maybe it looks better, like, on the pitch, but seeing it on TV, it didn't look that noticeable to me.
This is gonna be our new R2 in North Texas, war documentary, The Thin Yellow Line.
Oh, man. Oh,
Check it out on Tubi, folks.
I really hate but, but yeah, so, I mean, it's not the ideal start. I don't think it's been terrible. There's been things that have gone against them, not, call-ups unexpectedly, but I think if you look at the roster as it is now, so basically we're comparing 2023 and 2025, both 2024 and then now 2026. In 2024, we saw that steep fall off, after the success that they had. It would seem that that might be the case this season, but I honestly think the team maybe even got a little bit better, this season versus 2025, and I don't feel like they're gonna suffer. Are they gonna make it to the MLS Next Pro Cup again? I don't know. Are they gonna be as bad in 2026 as they were in 2024? I don't think that's the case. What are your thoughts on that?
I I'm pretty confident we are not gonna see a fall off like we saw from the 2023 to 2024 team. I'm just gonna go through some of the names on the 2023 team. Remy Cabral had that amazing season. We had, Daniel Chacon, who was supposed to be the next coming at center back for the Rapids. I don't know if you guys remember Super Yusuke Hanya, who I think just got man of the match down, with the Colorado Switchbacks this past weekend.
All with the first.
Yeah, 2023 R2 roster still featured Dylan Cerna, Blake Malone, Marlon Vargas was on that one. So I think that
Ollie
the what's that?
Ollie Laraz.
Yeah, Ali Laraz, Steve was still on that, Daniel Garcia, but the transition from, oh yeah, that was when Ali Laraz and Jackson were playing a ton of R2 minutes. So the transition between the 23 and 24 season saw so much of that talent or just the kind of incumbent starters leave that that has not happened between the 2025 and 2026 season. I think we are seeing less Alex Harris this year, and he was definitely a big deal for R2. But it still seems like we're gonna get to see a lot of Sibwathuda, especially as they try to carve out different roles for him in that final attacking third. We're still gonna see Kamani, we're still gonna see Bilo, we've still got Charlie, and Vinny as defensive stalwarts, Zach Campagnola, depending on his call-ups. In goal, Brian Corcoran was really high on Chris Aquino, Luis Garcia as far as midfield additions. And then you touched on this, Keith. Like, I'm a big Bryce Jameson fan. And if he's going to be cutting his teeth for a lot of minutes on R2, I think that's going to be really good. I think this team is without a doubt a playoff team, and I could easily see them getting back to the championship this year, because you look at the other teams that they face in the playoffs and the team they face in the championship. Red Bulls promoted Michael Bradley up to their first team head coach. They brought a lot of their R2 or their RBs too. We've got the meats too, talent up to their first team. So I think Red Bulls too will probably have more of a R2 style 2024 this year. And I think Rapids have a pretty good looking path back to the top of the mountain.
Yeah, and one of the things that Brian Kirkham mentioned, was that the style that they're trying to play now, which is the Matt Wells style, which I think is looking great with the first team, in 3 games, or yeah, 3 games, is more akin to the style that Eric Boucher would want to play, um, which I don't think is a knock on Chris, but if it's more like, it seemed like there was just, like, conflicting ideals on how the 2 maybe wanted to play to try to marry that between the teams, whereas it seems like Boucher is more this style is more natural for him, which I think as the season progresses, that's gonna be a big plus for them over last year.
I think that's a great point. And despite the correlation of R2 trying to play similar mechanics, similar philosophies, similar pressing triggers was a big buzzword last year. Still this year with Matt Wells as well. But I saw from R2 last year, I think what Brian was hinting at is that Eric Boucher very much has a system in mind. And that's why that R2 was so resilient as it plugged and played so many different player combinations as first teamers would come down or R2 players would get called up, academy kids would get called up, that no matter what combination was coming in, Eric had set them up in a system of togetherness that seemed to work no matter who was on that lineup. And additionally, we seem to always see he his substitution and halftime adjustments would take the team to another level if they hadn't kicked on at the start of it. What was that quote he told us last year? He usually knows in the first 5 minutes if the teams showed up for the night, and then if they haven't, halftime's about getting them in the building.
Yeah, and I almost feel like, I don't think he's as intense as, Wells is, but he does lean more to that intense side, like, kinda partner with Wells more than the kinda laid back style of Chris Armas, and I think that's also gonna be a plus. I mean, I'm not trying to say Armas was a terrible coach or terrible for the Rapids as an organization, but it just seems like there's a lot of things that Matt Wells does that Eric Boucher leans closer to that, and I think that's really gonna be a plus.
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah. With that chapter being done, I very much enjoy Chris Armas, and I'm excited for his time with the Kansas City Current. I do think Chris Armas's maybe philosophical tenets lean more on individual player performances to take a team over the top versus really leaning into, I think, Boucher's method, which is corroborated by Matt Wells or vice versa, being more of the system being what takes the collective players over the top. Eric is very intense, though. If you watch him in training, you really get to see it. He had an amazing quote, which I wrote down. I asked him if we could broadcast. They were doing this really cool drill where they had a short field with two of the full size goals, and they had three midfielders that would pivot based on which side of the field was in the attacking feature, and they had what they were calling their pressers were hunters. And so Eric, at the top of his lungs, shouts, "Hunters, you cannot be the best hunters, the best pressing team, unless you are the best in recovery." And he's screaming this. I think he said this a few times. But I'm also, as he's saying this, watching the players react and enact this command as they are turning from full blitz press to full sprint get back. So he's very much a loud live coach.
I think he reminds me a lot of like if I'm comparing Matt Wells and Eric Boucher, like the West Coast is closer to the red line of being overload. I think Wells lives on like 0.000001% of being going to overload. Whereas Boucher is kind of like Greg Popovich to where he's kind of even killed, but it turns out really fast. But then he comes right back down again really fast.
Yeah. I think the way I thought of Eric a lot last season, getting to know him, watching him coach, is he's very much a philosopher and teacher as a coach. I think if we are bringing it to first team and Matt Wells feels like a soccer engineer. Eric seems like he comes from like the humanities side of the school, which I think is such a boon for the development of these young men at these ages and stages that they're in.
All right, yeah. So what are we thinking about the match against SKC2 on Sunday?
So I think we're gonna be pretty fortunate. Coming into the match, we rocked SK2, 2 Sporting, 2 Kansas, 2 City. We rocked them last year. The matchups were 3-0 Rapids, April 27th, 4-1 Rapids, June 1st, and then 3-2 Rapids, August 31st. So we do have a good barometer on what our success against this team can look like as we go through the standings. I know it's it's not great that overall the the Rapids 2 are ranked at the bottom, but there's one other team below them right now. And that, sir, is Sporting Kansas City too.
Yeah, that's goal differential of -9 for Kansas City too. I mean, the Rapids aren't great. They're at -4, but I think it's still going to take some time for them to figure out this well system. It is hard, um, but there's just something about playing your first home match that I think is going to push them a long way and make things click that weren't clicking on the road.
Yeah, I don't wanna jinx us because you never wanna take an opponent for granted, and teams can always play down. But for a team that was on the road in Texas for the first 2 matches, especially since we heard from Brian, they had, travel difficulties for that North Texas match, so they didn't get in till near midnight, and have to get to the hotel, get some food, get some sleep, and then back at, their pregame regiment. But to get a home game, your first of the season, it's like that expression of like, if you're not hitting your threes, go make a layup. Like, hopefully this is a layup. Like this should just be us driving to the board and putting it off the glass. Um, I
Yeah.
think we should see. Go ahead.
Like Hoffa against LA Galaxy. Um, once he got that first goal off that rebound from Egan, I think he just lays that beautiful shot off his left foot for that second goal. And they got the first goal against North Texas on the free kick. But I think once they get that first goal in open play, then the floodgates are just going to start opening.
Oh yeah, I mean, think about it. To use your Hoffa analog, like that first Bilo Giap goal is probably going to come off of some like wild play where we all wonder how he kept it at his feet between two bodies and then tapped it in. And then his next goal for the brace, because I feel like he's gonna have to score the brace, keep the standards high for the striker union, is just gonna be like one of those like classic, like he just gets himself into amazing space and the finish is perfect. But also like we haven't seen James Cameron yet this season. He's been out with a knock. He was back in training last week, still with the injury penny on, but doing most of the drills. And we know James Cameron is the Canadian Army knife. Like you get him in the lineup and he makes things happen. So without Belo last game, without James for either of them, like if we get both of them back in this match at home against SKC2, then I think it's lights out for.
Yeah, I don't want to jinx it, but I think they're gonna win this one. They're due. It's against the team they've been successful against in the past. I think being at home and sleeping in your own bed the night before match day makes a huge difference. And look, there's been improvement even from first half, second half of the first match, the whole second match. There's been consistent improvement. They get to train all week. They don't have to travel. So I think they're going to get a win on Sunday.
Yeah, I'm looking back through the matchups with them last season. So they will face what's his name again. Pause for reading comprehension. I apologize for butchering this name, but Chantrit had a goal against them last season. I think he is still on the roster. It doesn't look like many other of the goal scorers, not that there were many from the SKC2 versus R2 matchups last year, are back to face them this year. Yeah, so really, if we're looking at who they're likely to face next week, it's the one midfielder who has scored a goal against them. I don't know, I like those chances.
Yeah, I'm not saying that SK. I'm just gonna call them KC2 because that's just easy. I'm not saying that they are like mince meat. I mean, the Raptors are only one position above them. So, but it just feels like it's been building forward. They just need a good opportunity. Things start going into their favor, and then once they get that one good match in them, then it's going to start rolling. And I think this could be that one good match.
Can can we call them the Sunshine Band? First team's KC and this is the
Yeah,
Sunshine Band?
it makes perfect sense to me.
All right, guys, you gotta be at the Dick this weekend for Keith and I to call the game against the Sunshine Band. We're gonna make it work.
Yeah,
I think
well,
we
I
had some.
can get like Dylan, who's always at our two matches, to start screaming at them.
Yeah, I think we had some bangers. We had what DoubleTree for Austin last year. What other puns do we have? Doubles for Red Bulls too.
Yeah, I had some not safe for work ones for the fake monarch that I won't put out
You
there.
got to find us live in the stadium to hear those. We can't put those over the over the air.
All right,
Oh, Looney Tunes was a good one for Minnesota United.
although they beat us every match except the one that mattered.
Do you want to do some player highlights who we think are going to really perform and some score predictions for this weekend's matchup?
So yeah, let's do player highlights for this weekend, score predictions, and we'll do three superlatives for the season.
Ooh,
MVP, most improved, and most likely to move up to the first team. So players that I am looking at. I'm really looking at Donovan Phillip. He hasn't really had too many opportunities so far because the ball's not getting that far forward consistently. But when he has, he's a big, strong boy, and he is deceptively quick. Like, you don't think he's as quick as he is, like, looking at his stature, but he will blow by you in a heartbeat. Um, I think as it continues to build out of the back better and it gets more to the forwards, I think he's gonna prove why he was that Matt Kerman Trophy Award winner once he starts to get more opportunities. Another one I'm looking at is Nathan Chumba. Don't know if he's getting a start again this week, but another player who is a lot bigger than you think he is. I mean, he's only 15. He's listed at 6'3". That's 1 inch shorter than Luka Harrington. So as a six at 6'3", I think he has the ball skills, the reaction time, the tactical mind that he is gonna be a big difference on his team. Not necessarily a direct replacement for Dowda, but I think he can do a lot of the things that Dowda did, plus be better defensively.
Or well, you took two I definitely would have wanted to put a stamp on. I think if Bilo plays, this is the Bilo Giop 2026 season account opener. I do think we should look for him to get a brace this game. I want to see. We talked at length about Dickato with uh, with Brian Crookham about his performance at right back. I'd love to see him. I think Brian phrased it as like a future or heir apparent at right back. I want him to be the heir of the Keegan Rosenberry classic banger. I want Jabari to have a signature pull up three, and I want it to debut in this game. I really want to see both the lockdown defense and him to get on the offensive score sheet here.
Yeah, it looks like from what I've seen of him so far, if we're comparing to what he could be on the first team, is like he's kind of a healthy mix from Reggie Cannon and Keegan Rosenberry in the sense that I think he has more of the athleticism and defensive prowess of a Reggie Cannon, but I also think that the way he came forward sometimes he reminded me a lot of what Keegan did in his prime. I think there's a very bright future for him, and he could be there apparent at right back. Keegan's not getting any younger. Reggie is pushing that 30 mark, so who knows?
I
Uh,
I I
I
will
will.
I'll touch base on because you brought up Donovan Phillip earlier. I've met him a few times, but especially last week at training, like that is an R2P2 certified BSB, big strong boy. Yeah, I would not want to face him as a defender. So I think that's a great shout from you. But bringing back to defenders, I love that our guy Charlie Harper has gotten the captain ban. I was such a big fan of his last season. I think his ball IQ and his body positioning is is so advanced, and I'm just waiting for him to take that next leap. I think he's got a bright future in front of him. So I want a standout performance from the captain this weekend at home, getting a clean sheet, hopefully in front of Campagnola or Kendall or whomever starts in goal.
So score prediction. I'm gonna go 3-1. Rapids 2. I'll take the D'Lo brace, and then I think Donovan Phillip is gonna open his account.
All right, I'm going 4-0. I think Bilo Brace, Jabari Decato, and I think James Cameron. If he plays, I think James Cameron gets a classic chaos goal. And I do think the defense pulls a clean sheet out of this one. I think Kansas City or sorry, the Sunshine Band goes to -13 goal differential after this week.
Yeah, and that will put Rapids 2 at even. So well, I
Yeah.
can't hold that.
Well, the first team's even now too. So,
No,
or
they're up.
no,
They're up
that's
1.
right. Yeah. They're up 3.
Yeah, they're up 3, yeah.
Yeah.
So then it's gonna have to be 7-0. But yeah,
That's a monk score prediction from the other show.
all right. So who's your MVP for this season?
I think the only way it's not Vilo
Okay.
Giap is if he spends the bulk of his minutes going up to the first team. Uh, I really would be hard pressed to see anyone but Bilo get that, potential shouts to Wathuda, to Donovan, Phillip, or even again, I think this would only be hampered by his, call-ups to the first team and international call-ups, but I could see Zach Campagnolo having an MVP style campaign this year, at goal.
Yeah, I'm actually gonna go James Cameron. Um,
Ooh.
I think because he can do so much, he can play wing back, he can play on the wing, he can play fullback. I wouldn't be surprised if they try to make midfield at some point because he's played well everywhere he's played. Um, that I think we've only just seen a taste last season of what he can do, and I think he's really going to because I don't see him going up to the first team as much as the others have the potential to. And not saying that's going to be the only cause, but he'll be there more consistently. His opportunities are going to be greater, and I think those opportunities being greater are going to make him greater. So I think he's going to be the MVP this season.
I mean, the first team shell, if by some chance we don't pull the purchase option on Alexis Manyoma's loan, I could see Matt Wells falling in love with James Cameron's work ethic and that Canadian Army knife style of positioning and bringing him up as kind of an inverted left winger that can really press. I could see him getting some first team minutes.
The double
I
M.
don't. Oh yeah, done. And then if they do a figure eight like James Cameron and Dante, just I didn't put James Cameron as my MVP because I think what's the next one you're gonna ask?
Most improved.
I think that's gonna be James Cameron, and I thought he had a hell of a season last season, but given the fact that he didn't really get put into that winger position until the, like, last, what, 30-40% of the games? Not even a half season. Like, he balled out when he got that chance, and I think this is the season where we see that prowess, that work rate, that ability to just be someone who makes things happen on the pitch. I think that's gonna become, uh, as sharp as a knife this season, and we're really gonna see it. So I think he gets most improved, and you make a good case. He could also have the counting stats to rival someone like Bilo Diop in an MVP race.
Yeah, I wanted him to be my most improved. I picked it for MVP, but I won't double down. But I think the other for most improved will be I'll go with Vincent Rinaldi. Um, with Kofi not being there, um, he's gonna get a lot more time playing at that position. I think Charlie Hopper is a great example for him. Zach, though he doesn't play center back, is a great teacher at the goalkeeper position because he gets to see a lot because he's at basically every first team training with the GKU there. So he gets to see a lot of what they're doing, and that's gonna, I think, brush off on Vince Rinaldi as well. Um, so I think with the more playing time there, he's likely gonna get the all the other tools around him. I think we'll see him improve a lot.
Nice, sir. What's up next?
Most likely to go to first team next.
Next season, not this season.
No, so I mean, I'm assuming a lot are gonna get first team call up. Person who plays out under R2 officially this season, but next season is officially first team.
I think it is going to be Charlie Harper or Jabari Diakité.
Exactly my two.
Dang.
I mean, because you look at who's there and who's likely to play a lot there. I mean, I guess we'll see what happens with Belo, whether he is on a first team contract soon or not. Sydney is already on the first team contract. Philip is
So is
already on the
Bryce.
first team contract. So is Bryce. Kamani is already on a first team contract. So that doesn't leave that many more of the top players you would say that can make that jump. Um, we don't know what's gonna happen with Rob Holding, after this season, whether he's gonna be extended or not. Um, we don't let's be honest, we don't know if Lucas is gonna be here next season if he keeps playing the way that he plays. So that leaves for sure on the roster right now, Noah Cobb and Ian Murphy. So I think there's a great shot that Charlie Harper, if he has a standout season, could go play with Matt Wells. I'm sure he would love to play with Matt Wells. And then Jabari, or Keegan's winding down his contract. I think he only signed a 3-year extension, and I think this is year 2. Um, Reggie's contract is not much more, and that's all they have at right back. So if Jabari plays really well, not only is that good that he can go play right back, it's also a cheap option to where if he plays well enough and can play in that system, you don't have to go and spend a lot of money on right back, when they can spend it in other areas. So I think they're the 2 most likely.
I think the Rapids' desire for or commitment to youth at the fullback position, like it's shown with Jackson Travis, and it's really paying dividends with him. But we've seen it also with the cultivation of your Sebastian Andersons, your uh, Anthony Marcanics, and while those players aren't with the team anymore, we're seeing Marcanic have great success with Minnesota. I think they are going to salivate at the opportunity to get Jabari Diakité, a draft pick no less from this year, that's coming in, and to get him fast tracked into the development phase for a first team future significant role. I will make one other shout out, two. I think one of the reasons I didn't say Campagnolo, I'm not sure if Zach Steffen will be here next year, or if Nico will do enough to make that contract discussion or those 2 roster slots a hard choice. But I do think if either of those 2 are here, even if Zach gets the first team call up, it's probably going to be Nico or Stefan in the goal. But after that free kick I saw from Chris Aquino and my constant harping that the first team needs a creative 10, if this attacking mid we just brought in from Juarez wants to stunt out this year, I could easily see him being a major contributor late season and into next season and getting a first team contract.
Yeah, I'll have to see, him a little bit more on the defensive side, because we know that Matt Wells leans heavily on not just being good attacking, but being good defensively as well. He hasn't looked bad. I think I've seen some good moments out of him, but I just need to see more.
Yeah. I think Aquino's probably more in the mold of like the Georgia Mihailovic and the Max Alves style of 10 that we've seen previously with the Rapids. No, hey, too soon, too soon.
I hope he's not like that's how.
Chris Aquino, let us see your phone. We're deleting any gambling apps.
Yeah, what's the gambling like in Mexico?
Polymarket's cool though, right?
Hey, is that them? Is it them that are the league partnership this year?
Yes, yeah, they're the official league partners. And that's a different thing. It's a peer-to-peer stock market that's overseen by the CT or CFTC, not the state-by-state gambling commission. So it's totally different. And like crypto's involved, so like it's not even real, bro.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, we'll see. Just don't be like Matt. That's it.
Uh But yeah, other big contributors. I want to see Landon Strohmeyer more this year. I loved watching him last year. I loved watching Andre Erickson. And I'm fully in the TNT boat for Jaden Chantak. I just want like all of our Dynamite Island boys to like for us basically to become the Colorado Trinidad and Tobagans.
We were leaning Brazil for a while, but I think that's gone with Santos being out. So why not TNT?
Yeah, it's so much fun.
I guess another one actually would be Kendall Starks. I think has some opportunities because let's just be honest, Zach didn't called up to the youth squad. So that's gonna give Kendall some more opportunity. Yeah, he's looked okay. I think he's had 2 starts so far. I think he actually looked better in this last start than the first one where he kinda went on a journey a couple times outside of goal. The 3 goals are really not on him. I don't think there's a whole lot he could have done better to prevent those. But I'm assuming he's gonna get some more opportunities, and that's a good opportunity for growth for him.
I think he's gonna get a lot of opportunities. I think I wouldn't put it out of the realm of possibility sooner rather than later that we see Zach Campagnola get the Adam Beaudry treatment and get loaned out to a USL championship team or maybe even above that. So he's getting more competitive minutes in higher tier environments. I think he's that good of a player.
Yeah, and then, he's getting around that age to where teams will wanna bring him in and develop him more, because you always want at least 2 good goalkeepers on your squad, and he
I
fits that
mean,
mold.
I have to assume every team in the MLS, if not like other leagues elsewhere, just like have the Rapids GKU on a short list, right? Like we have an embarrassment of riches
Who's Sharpie
in
having
that room.
in the pipeline right now? Like, that's probably what they're thinking.
We need to make sure like Sharpie gets like a I don't know some sort of like order where he's not allowed to leave the state. We can't lose and Brandon Bumpus. Like we need to keep the GKU and the GKU coaches all intact and just prosper.
Yeah. So let's get out of here and let's not take up too much time. But yeah, so 3-1, 4-0. That's our predictions. Um, and then there'll be a couple more matches before we record again. So we'll keep an eye on things. And hopefully you enjoyed the first episode of R2P2 here. And be sure, if you're not busy, to make it out to Dick's on Sunday. Um, which is their first home match against the Sunshine Band. Um, the most successful team in Colorado over the past 3 or 4 years. So get out, support your boys. They're actually really fun to watch. So if you're not busy, make it out there. And it kicks their teeth as well.
Yeah, come hang out with us. You'll also see a lot of the first team players hanging out as well. It's just an amazing environment, and there's nothing better you can be doing Sunday night than spending it watching R2 dominate the Sunshine Band.
Until next time, may the force be with you.
We are the droids you're looking for.